We are talking quarterbacks. We are talking about a situation that the Miami Dolphins have at quarterback and what they can and can't do about that situation. What is up, Finn fans? We are talking quarterbacks today. This is the spicy content. This is the content that everyone wants. Everyone wants to hear about, talk about quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa, what's going on with him? What isn't going on with him? How is he doing? What is he eating? What isn't he eating? All of those good things. So we are going to talk about the quarterback situation, essentially Tua. I'm going to, again, for the 4 millionth time, give you my thoughts and feelings on Tua. Some will ignore some of the things I say, and some will ignore the others, and the people that appreciate me will actually listen to me and understand where I'm coming from. And we'll talk about the depth behind him and what the Dolphins can do with the quarterback situation. And we're going to talk about what his dad had to say about his concussions. Before we get into that, I have trivia today. What player posed the team-leading 7 sacks for 9-win Dolphins in 2022? One more time. What player posted a team-leading 7 sacks for the 9-win Dolphins in 2022? I'll give you the answer at the end of the video, unless you already know it. Don't look it up, though. Don't cheat. Don't look it up. So first, we're going to go over this article talking about Tua Tagovailoa's dad opens up about his son's battle with concussions. So this was written by Eva, it's on Sports Illustrated, Eva Gythium? Sorry, I'm not good with names. When Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered, one more time, Doug, a concussion in the Week 2 loss to the Buffalo Bills, many former players and pundits questioned if the quarterback should retire from football due to his lengthy history with head injuries. He has had a lot. Tua, most recent concussion kept him sidelined for over a month. After returning in Week 7, the quarterback quickly shut down any speculations or thoughts of retirement. It never stuck in my mind, and I was ever thinking of retiring. Whether the doctors told me that or not, it would have just been information for me. Tua, though Tua remains adamant about playing football, his dad, I don't want to butcher his name, Galu, Galu, admits it's not easy watching his son endure these types of injuries. It's tough for a parent to go through something like this. As a father, you're like, man, you've got to take care of your health. That's the most important thing. You have a family. I have 2 beautiful grandkids, and that's something I've got to talk to him about. Ultimately, his dad knows decisions regarding Tua's career remain up to his son and his family. Tua is now married, this is what his dad said, and has his own family. And these are some of the toughest things that he's going to deal with in his lifetime to decide whether he's going to continue or the game is something that he loves. Continue. I just want to make sure you guys see this so you don't think I'm having a little bit of a stroke. To decide whether he's going to continue or the game is something that he loves. There's a typo, right? Or am I having a stroke? To decide, again, I'm dyslexic, so we'll say it one more time. We'll start from the beginning. He has his own family, and these are some of the tough things that he's going to have to deal with in life. To decide whether he's going to continue or the game is something that he loves. I think it's to decide whether he's going to continue for the game. I don't know. Let me know. Be like, Doug, you dumb. It's this, you dyslexic son of a gun. What has helped reassure his dad is seeing how much his son loves and wants to continue playing football. One of the things that I talked to him when he was going through his concussions was, what do you think? And Tua is like, Dad, I love this game and I'll die on the field for this game. Tua grew up in a way that everything is just so competitive. He just doesn't want to leave the game. Tua loves it. That answers everything for me. Tua grew up in a way that everything is just so competitive. You don't want to leave the game the kid loves. Now, again, that kind of pushes back on people thinking that he quit at the end of the year and that he's weak and this and that. There are these preconceived notions and these ideas that people come up with because they have a preconceived notion of Tua and they don't like him, regardless if you think he's holding the team back, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And then they push it onto information that's being released that isn't all of the truth. And one of them being that Tua sat out the last 2 games of the year and, it was his decision, and which isn't true, and that he's weak and this and that, which isn't true. And, I just was watching Nick Saban doing an interview with Channing Crowder, and Channing Crowder was talking about how hard Nick Saban was and this and that. And I'm like, that was Tua's college coach, right? So for me, my worry or my biggest gripe with him isn't his mental toughness and isn't his love of the game, because obviously he does love the game and his mental toughness is there because that kid has been through everything and he still wants to play the game of football. And for people to say like, oh, he looked at himself in the mirror and didn't know if he was good enough. You know how many NFL players do that? Steve Young did that when he was struggling with San Fran and finally got the monkey off his back. Kurt Warner did that when he was bagging groceries. You know how many NFL quarterbacks and Hall of Famers and NFL players kind of looked at themselves in the mirror and said, like, am I good enough? And then they pulled themselves up and played. So you could take that and you can pack that away. So that's Tua, right? So now let's get into the quarterback situation. Now we'll start with Tua Tagovailoa. Now Tua has played 1 full season in the NFL. And that's not good. And that's a problem. That 100% is a problem. That's not something I'm going to sit here and be like, well, you got to give him another year. No. Because all of his injuries were his fault. And that is where it really chaps my cheeks. Because yes, he's a team player, and yes, he wants to go out there and, help us win the game, against Buffalo. It was like the middle of the 3rd quarter, maybe the beginning of the 4th quarter, and he takes off running. I got to get this first down on 4th down. Boom, gets a concussion. You didn't need to, right? It's 1 game in the season. We needed you for the next 4 because we could have won 3 of the games we lost with you on the field, and we wouldn't have ended the year at 8-9. We would have ended the year at 11-6. Knock, knock, who's there? We would have made the playoffs. A whole different world. And again, at the end of the year, with your hip, Jets couldn't beat you. So it would have been a different world if you were playing that game. Maybe we get to 12 wins. Who knows? Not saying yes or no, but that competitiveness in his head, it needs to go away, because at the end of the day, it's 1 play and it's 1 game. Now, yes, if it's the end of the year, if it's a Super Bowl, if it's the playoffs, then sure, maybe. But again, take the decision, use your brain, slide, play another down, play another series, let your defense come out and help you. Do it differently. Take these things into consideration. First concussion. Again, whether you think it was Buffalo or Cincinnati, I'm going with Cincinnati. First concussion against Cincinnati. You could watch it. The man had, so I'll pop it up. You know what? I'm going to edit this and I'll give you some information and some visual cues. His first concussion, he had so much time as he's standing there away from the pressure and then eventually gets whipped down. Concussion. Second concussion, he takes off running against the Green Bay Packers. He didn't have to do that. He got the ball off to Durham Smythe, but he got a concussion from that. Then he plays the full year in 2023. Fantastic. He had one of his best years in 2023. We will look at that as well because I'm going to talk about stats. And then this past year, again, didn't slide, concussion, he's out. Then against the Texans, didn't slide, hurt his hip. Then against the 49ers, he took a big hit, standing in the pocket, delivering the ball to Tyreek Hill, re-aggravated the hip injury. He needs to take better care of himself because if he slid both times, he would have re-aggravated the hip. He would have been fine for the end of the season. And if he slid the first time, he would have gotten the concussion, and it would have been a PR move from the NFL to put him on the shelf for 4 weeks. So That is a big problem. And I have been on here and I have stated on here that the only way I'm giving him a contract extension is if he shows me he can stay healthy and that he can get over the hump at the end of the year. He hasn't done either one of those. So me personally, I would have given him a contract extension. I would have had him play out his 5th-year option, and then we got to this part of the season, and then the Miami Dolphins would have to sit back and think, we're picking at 13. Can we get a starting quarterback at 13? No. Do we want to stick with Tua and give him, a lower phased contract to just, at least ride one more year with him? But I honestly think in that situation, if they didn't give him the contract extension, you probably would have saw Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel get fired and would have started fresh and probably tried to trade up from 13 to get one of these quarterbacks in, either Cam Ward or Shadori. But we are where we are now with Tua, and we have him under contract, and we're going to talk about that. So Tua, here's the thing about Tua, and this is why I constantly say, if he would have played and if this happened and that, because he has a winning record when he starts and finishes a game. Under Brian Flores, when he starts and finishes a game, again, I'm going to emphasize that because I know people are going to, people love proving people wrong, go and be like, no, technically this is his record. If he starts and finishes the game, he's 12-7 with Brian Flores. So Brian Flores with Tua Tagovailoa as a starting and finishing for those 2 years had a 12-7 record. When Tua didn't start and finish the game, aka got injured or wasn't playing, he's 7-7. And a big chunk of that 7-7 was when Ryan Fitzpatrick was there. With Mike McDaniel, when Tua starts and finishes a game, 25-14. Without Tua starting and finishing the game or not playing the game, 3-8. Now, do you see the difference? Do you see a little bit of the discrepancy in the mentality with Flores and having the likes of Fitzpatrick? Because when we had Bridgewater, when we had Jacoby Brissett, we went 1-7. Like, it was horrible. Like, they could not win without Tua. A lot of those wins that from that 7-7 was with having Fitzpatrick, who's a very good, capable quarterback. And then you have McDaniel, 3-8 without Tua. Doesn't have a very good, capable quarterback, and also his offense is very different and very convoluted. So overall, to his career, when he starts and finishes the game, is 37-21. And when he doesn't, the team is 10-15. So they have a losing record when he's not on the field from the start to finish of the game, or just not on the field. So he has problems at the end of the year, and I'm not going to deny that. And we've seen it in the Tennessee Titan game. I will say, yes, he played horribly, but I'll also put a little bit of that on Brian Flores while you're having him throw 40 times in that type of weather when Vrabel had Tannehill throw it 14 times. Like, it was just such a dumb play design. But then also you have other instances where Tua does kind of struggle. Prime example, the Houston Texans game this past year, where he had those 2 interceptions where he got baited pretty badly by the defense. And then the prior years against San Fran and San Diego, back-to-back, horrible game. It's like those need to stop happening, especially at the end of the year. But then also, I had a conversation with somebody, and I was talking about someone on Twitter posted a video of what Patrick Mahomes looked like when he faced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, and how he was running around with his like a chicken with his head cut off. And I was like, funny how a franchise sees that and they think, we're not going to do that again. And now if you notice, Patrick Mahomes consistently has a very good offensive line around him. And somebody was like, yeah, it also helps. It would have helped if his receivers caught the ball. And I'm like, well, let's not start that, because, you look at the Buffalo Bills game, his rookie year, how many times, there was the Devontae Parker, or it was Preston Williams Parker fell interception. That's not on Tua. Another one, tip pass interception. So a lot of these things that other quarterbacks get excuses for, Tua doesn't disqualify his problems, his lack of thereof. So looking at Tua now, though, my biggest problem with Tua is he can't stay healthy, right? Will he eventually get over that hump at the end of the year? Possibly. But now my biggest problem and my biggest worry about Tua, and I'm talking about this video and the quarterback situation, is because he cannot stay healthy. It has been, and let's look at some data. It has been 5 years, and he had one season where he was played the full year. Now, this is his rookie year, so he didn't really started. So he played 13 games, started 12, but again, he got injured, and then he came in for the Ravens game. So again, I didn't count the Ravens win in my data for that 5-3, I think it was this year, 7-4 this year. Just like I didn't count when he got hurt in the Bills game and got taken out. So I was very fair. Didn't start and finish this one. This is the concussion year, then this one. Big problems, but you look when he played a full year, right? Led the league in passing. He got the Pro Bowl. He got AP Comeback Player of the Year. You look at 2022, he led the league in touchdown to interception ratios, yards per attempt, average yards, yards per catch. He led the league in passer rating. He had AP MVP. Like, he is a good quarterback. And if anyone's going to sit here and tell you he's a bad, like even this past year, he led the league in completion percentage. If anyone's going to sit here and look at you and say, Tua's trash, he's horrible, he's garbage, blah, 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 none of these accolades would be here, and he wouldn't lead the league in all these different categories. He's a good quarterback. He just can't stay healthy, and that is my biggest knock. Now, yes, I will say it again because people are going to ignore it. I still have a problem with him come towards the end of the year. He has those games like against the Houston Texans and like I named the other ones. But for me, the biggest thing we're going to talk about right now is he cannot stay healthy. So there has to be insurance policy. This is his contract, right? They cannot move on from him this year. Now they could trade him post, but look at that dead cap in 2026 next year of a $45.2 million. They'd save 26 now, yada, yada. But they can't move on from him. Tua's not going anywhere in 2025. It's just not happening. Now in 2026, they can move on from him and save $11.2 million. Now you're still dealing with that dead cap, but you still have the $11.2 million savings. And then if you do a post June 1st, you save $43 million, right? And that dead cap from 2026 is a little bit lower, but you got the dead cap in 2027. So you kind of want to just eat the dead cap now and not have to deal with it. So here is the thought process. Tua is going to be your quarterback for 2025 because like I showed you, he ain't going anywhere, right? You got that base salary here that they can finagle with. You got the base salary here that they can finagle with. Stephen Ross can bust out his checkbook and take this and make it a signing bonus and save cap space and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. As long as they don't affect, and I don't think they will, affect the possibility of releasing him in 2026 and saving money, they probably will do something in the aspect of taking either his base salary or whatever and converting it into a signing bonus. Stephen Ross will cite a check and drop that cap hit from $39 million to save the Miami Dolphins money. So like I said, Tua Tagovailoa will be your quarterback in 2025, regardless if you want to or not. Now, I've had people on Twitter and the comment section willing to get rid of him now, lose it all because they don't like him that much. I don't understand it. That's your prerogative. Do you, boo-boo. So there's that. Here's what the Dolphins need to do. And this is the quarterback situation. And if you look at the thumbnail, there's two players with question marks. What do you do behind them? Because again, I'll say it for the 4,000th time, I do not trust he will not stay healthy. Or I do not trust that he will stay healthy. So they need to have a capable backup. Now, not only that, though, Mike McDaniel needs to work on his system a little bit more so that these quarterbacks that come in to be the backup isn't such a huge margin. And that has been for any team that has these type of quarterback plays, right? Because you look at Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love goes down. Malik Willis comes in. They win games. He plays well. That's what you need in a backup quarterback. You don't need one who it's like day and night. You need it to be a little bit closer. And there are names out there, and I'm not going to go full in depth. I'm just giving you examples. I have videos coming out talking about free agency, who we should target. Same thing with possible draft, which I'll talk about in 2 seconds. But like Russell Wilson, right? Russell Wilson's not going to want to go to Miami. Why would any of these free agents go to Miami? Because they know Tua will probably get hurt and they'll get a chance to start. And if they start and play really well, they'll probably stay the starter because, again, if Tua gets hurt again, he's probably done. So, you come here to 50-50 coin flip shot of, I'm probably going to be starting. So you got like Russell Wilson. Well, Russell Wilson's going to want to be a starter. I already mentioned that. Russell Wilson's going to want money. Will he want money? And that's where that thought process comes in, because in 2025, the Denver Broncos are still going to be paying Russell Wilson $32 million. So he could come to Miami if he wants and make like $5 million. And he'll be making $37 million on the year and just, be a backup for Tua. Now, Russell Wilson has shown he can win games. Russell Wilson has shown he has spurts of still being that Russell Wilson that won a Super Bowl, but Russell Wilson isn't a starting caliber quarterback anymore, and that's a name that's floating out there. Also, Justin Fields. Now, I know Justin Fields, he played well for the Steelers when he was starting, when Russell Wilson was hurt. He's not that prolific of a passer, but he does have that dynamic ability with his legs. Will he fit in McDaniel's system, and will McDaniel change the system to equate to him? Hopefully. You got Kirk Cousins. These are potential cuts. Now I want to show you Kirk Cousins because these are potential cuts, and if these do happen, you see here, right? If they decide to release Kirk Cousins, it's a they lose $25 million, and it's a $65 million cap hit. If they decide to trade him, it's a $37.5 million cap hit. And if it's a post June 1st, they don't save anything, but they don't really get a negative. But you see all this dead cap, that's money he's getting paid. So will he want to come to Miami? Will the Dolphins be able to afford him? Yeah, because he'd still be getting a buttload of money, about $65 million. The only difference is they don't have to pay him $65 million. And who's going to trade for him if they're just going to cut him? So there is that possibility that they could move on from him. The out is after 2025, but Michael Penix did play well for them, so there's that. Also, Derek Carr. Another situation where it'd probably have to be a trade or a post-June 1st release. And again, he would still be getting paid by the Saints. And I wouldn't mind having a Derek Carr as a backup quarterback. Now, I know people are going to be like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. The point is they're not going to play the full season. And the point is if Tua goes down again, and if the season falls apart, I have a whole video talking about that. It ain't going to be good regardless. So that's my thought. And again, I'll talk about more. There's other, potential free agent quarterbacks out there. This is just a little taste of a potential video that's coming out. That, you bring in a viable, good Matt Moore. Like, you look at Russell Wilson, you look at Justin Fields, you look at Kirk Cousins, and mostly Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, and Derek Carr. They remind me of Matt Moore, where, he comes in and they're going to win us. He's going to win some games. And they might play so well that Tua is just going to have to park his tush on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, if he gets injured again, and depending on the injury, whether it's a concussion or this or that, he's probably done. If it's another concussion, he's done. I'm guaranteeing you that the Dolphins are not going to let him touch the field again. They're going to shut him down for the year. He's done. So, again, that opens up the viability for these free agents to come in and potentially start. Now, the draft. This last thing I want to talk about is the draft. I don't see the Dolphins taking a quarterback in the first 3 to 4 rounds because there is no future with the GM and with the head coach. A lot of times you'll take these quarterbacks to build them and to make them into your quarterback. We don't know if Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer are going to be here next year. And the incoming general manager and head coach are going to want their own quarterback. Just like Mike McDaniel probably wanted his own, but he took this job because he thought, and he kind of did, turn to his career around. So I don't see them drafting a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, possibly first 4 rounds. And there are quarterbacks. Now I'm going off of PFF's rankings. You got like Will Howard, who just won a national championship. As of right now, and again, a lot can change at the Senior Bowl, a lot can change at the Combine, a lot can change with the span of now till April. PFF has him ranked 98th in their big board, which is around the 3rd-ish round. Or you have Jackson Dart, who, again, he has his ups and he has his downs. He has his physical attributes, but he has his other warts. They have him ranked at 199. Now, Jackson Dart seems more of a possibility to take after the third round. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins don't take a quarterback, because I'll repeat it. You take a quarterback in the draft to build and to mold into what you want, and the Dolphins don't have the time for that. Because if they start the season 2-5, they'll probably be fired, and you'll probably have an interim head coach for the Miami Dolphins, and might all fall downhill. And then we have an early first round pick in 2026, and that's when the new GM and head coach will probably get their quarterback. But that's the video I'm going to talk about. That's another video I'm going to talk about. So comment below. Let me know what you guys think about my thoughts on the quarterback position and the situation there. Again, I have no faith in Tua staying healthy. He has to prove me wrong. And I know a lot of people who really like Tua are going to be like, wow, this is such a negative video about Tua. Well, that's because that's all you heard was the negativity and not all the good stuff, like I talked about with his accolades and his passing and his love of the game and all that stuff. And all the people who don't like Tua are probably going to be like, wow, you raffled off a ton of excuses and didn't hear me talk about that. I don't think he's going to stay healthy, and they might move on from him and this and that. People pick and choose. But comment below. Let me know what your thoughts on that. Potential free agents you like. And do you think they'll draft a quarterback? And the answer to the trivia question, what player posted a team-leading 7 sacks for the 9-win Dolphins in 2022? It was one of my favorite on the team, Jalen Phillips. I will see you guys tomorrow with my conference championship predictions. I'm debating whether I'm going to do the Bills or the Eagles game live stream. I'm still debating it, and I'll tell you why tomorrow. So, like usual, stay classy. I fin top.